Hello, everyone. Hopes you can hear us okay. Thanks for joining today's nuclear skills stakeholder update webinar. This is focusing on current or in-year activity already underway. We've got a couple of presenters just to go through. We've got Annette Valentine, project lead at the at NSSG. I've got Amy Proll next up, who's digital lead for Destination Nuclear, and then finally we've got Paul Carlton, her Navy project lead on Destination Nuclear careers portal. And we've got about a few slides, about 10 minutes or so each to go through. You should be able to see a question. So there's quite a few of us on the session, but they should be able to see a Q&A box. Feel free to fire any questions through while the presenters are going through, and we've got some time for Q&A at the end. I should say the session's been recorded, and we make a copy of that recording available afterwards. So look, without any further ado, I'll hand you over to Annette to take you through the current in your activity.
Lovely, thank you, Roger, and good afternoon, everyone. Lovely to see you all. As Roger said, I'm just going to spend the next 10 minutes talking to you about the programme of work that's already underway to make sure we've got that diverse, strong and capable workforce that the sector needs to thrive. Obviously, it's really important that we pick up on this right now and deal with it in an accelerator fashion, because we all know some of the challenges ahead in respect of security and in respect of energy. You know, it's more important than ever that for all of us we sleep safely in our beds and that we keep warm and are able to keep the lights on. So it's more critical than it ever was that we make sure that the sector has the workforce it needs in order to thrive. So just in terms of setting it in context, what I wanted to do first is just talk to you about the work that's been happening over the last few months behind the scenes. As many of you will be aware, the Nuclear Skills Task Force has been running for quite a while, and that's been a collaboration between government, nuclear defence and civil nuclear. And what that group has been doing is working really hard to identify the top priority interventions that we really need to progress if we are going to build that capability in the workforce. And obviously, in terms of where that work has been heading, it's been heading towards the development and launch of the National Nuclear Strategic Plan for Skills, which hopefully will be launched in the next week or two. So what you can see on the screen is the 13 initiatives, work streams that the Nuclear Skills Task Force identified as the key priorities under 4 themes: collaborating across the sector, deepening the workforce pool, investing in the existing workforce, and leading and stewarding for the long term. So in terms of those 13, a number of them have kicked off already. So obviously, in terms of looking at the programme budget for all of that, that's currently sitting within negotiations as part of the spring budget with government. But we did secure some funding in December to enable us to kickstart some activity and actually get it underway. And what you'll see in the grey boxes are the things that are already underway. I should say that there are also some other activities underway across the sector, and I'll tell you a bit more about those as we go through. In terms of what's underpinning all of that, of course, is the most critical skills that that the research tells us are the most important and the most high risk in terms of making sure we've got that capability in the workforce to deliver. And on the screen, you'll see those 11 critical skills that I'm talking about. So the work that the National Nuclear Strategic Plan is picking up is work that is prioritising those critical skills. So all of those activities that I talked about, all of those work streams are focused on all of those critical skills first. So in terms of the work that's underway, one of the ones that you saw on the screen earlier was around career switches, and there are 2 aspects to that: current and future. So in terms of the current career switches, what that is about is making sure that we've got mechanisms in place to accelerate the speed to capability of people mid-career people coming into the workforce. And one of the first initiatives that we've kicked off is to take the model that was originally put forward by government around boot camps, which was originally designed to attract people into the industry and give them a taster of what they would be doing in the industry, and use that as a mechanism to enable them to move into apprenticeships much more easily. So that was the original concept. And what we did was take that concept and say, actually, could we use something a bit similar to that to for mid-career people coming into the nuclear sector from similar industries, and putting them through an accelerator program that will enable them to be more effective more quickly when they're recruited into the sector. So that's the purpose of the bootcamp program. So the first 4 Trailblazer pilots are looking at those first 4 critical skills that were on that list of 11. So that's welding, safety case, radiological protection, and project planning and controls. So we have groups of people from across the industry. We have got project leads from across the industry as well for each of those, and we've got groups set up to really set out the requirements for those boot camps and make sure we've got mechanisms in place to identify providers that can then go on to develop and deliver those boot camps for us. So where we are currently is that we've got all of the tenders back from the providers, and we're just in the process of going through those and contracting with those providers so that we can get on and develop the 4 bootcamp programs with a view to delivering those early into the next financial year, April, May time. So that's Career Switchers current. And in terms of Career Switchers future, what that is about is picking up the next 4 critical skills on that list of 11. So the next 4 are all engineering related. So they're nuclear engineering, systems, civil and structural, and mechanical. And the process that we're going through between now and the end of March is working with people from those professions, identifying and developing a problem statement for those in terms of what are the key challenges that those 4 professions are facing in terms of attracting, retaining, and recruiting people into those professions, articulating the problem statement, and then from that building the case for interventions and solutions and developing the action plan. And so by the end of March we'll have those 4 action plans developed and ready, and then they can be mapped against the National Nuclear Strategic Plan for Skills and make sure we've got plans in place to address the interventions that were identified through those next 4 critical professions. So that's Career Switchers Futures. And the next one that's already kicked off is around cross-sector leadership. So that's about developing a leadership program that really gives people with potential and future leaders the opportunity to build those networks and connections across the industry and really accelerate their development as leaders for the sector. So where we are with that is we've developed the requirements for that, and we've sourced a program that already exists through one of the partners in the sector, and we'll be evaluating and testing that program. And from that, we'll decide, okay, what is it that needs to be adapted and changed to get the best program possible that can then be rolled out across the sector. So making good progress on that. And then we have a whole chunk of work under optimising the training landscapes, the goal of which is to really make sure we've got that training capability and capacity across the UK so that we can develop and train and progress people who are in the industry and make sure that the right training exists for the right people in the right place coming into the industry. So there are 3 strands to that. One of which is looking at the role profiles and career pathways for those critical professions and making sure we understand what the career pathways are for those roles, and that we've got a level of consistency across the sector. And then this will help training providers to develop the right curriculum and make sure that that curriculum is in place so that we reduce the need to retrain, and actually it supports transferability, so we get people moving within the sector much more easily than probably we have been able to do up to now. So that's the first tranche. The second bit of work that's already underway is to establish a regional coordinating body to deliver against those requirements. So that would give us an efficient and coordinated mechanism through which we can deliver against those short and long-term training needs. So if we've got a group of providers working together and actually taking the requirements that people are asking for within the sector, it'll be much more effective as a collaborative approach to say, okay, well, if these are the requirements, how are we going to deliver against that? So that's the second tranche of work. And then finally, just making sure that we've got the insights and intelligence and data to better understand the demand picture. And we've got 3 pieces of work as part of that that's underway as well. So that is optimising the training landscapes. And then I did say earlier on that there's other work happening across the sector that's also part of that National Nuclear Strategic Plan, and the 3 areas that are already underway are up on screen. So there's the interchange programme, which is effectively a new centralised hub allowing people to plan and develop their career. That will be information, advice, guidance, support at your fingertips to enable people to really start to think through what their future career looks like and how their pathway can be developed. And that will be launched on the 14th of March. And then that will also support a collaborative approach to moving people around in the sector on placements, on secondments, giving them bite-sized opportunities to multi-year exchanges, again, to support that development and growth of people within the sector so that we are building that capability that we need. The second piece of work that's already underway is really thinking through what the localised response is to skills shortage hotspots. Every region is slightly different, with slightly different needs, slightly different challenges, and a different training network. So looking at developing regional hubs so that we can create that localised response to skills shortages. So the first 2 that are being set up are in the Northwest and Southwest as pilots. So we'll be looking at those, learning from them, and then using the learning from that to make decisions around scale up. And then finally, and certainly not least, is equality, diversity and inclusion. It's really key that we build that diverse workforce for the future, because that is how businesses across the sector, not just nuclear, but beyond that, that is how those businesses thrive, is making sure that you've got that diversity within the workforce. So widening the diversity in the talent pool and embedding equality, diversity and inclusion across the nuclear sector, raising awareness, learning from best practice, and developing initiatives that really start to move the dial on that. And work's going to begin shortly on establishing that sprint activity and focusing on the highest priority change areas across the sector. So that is a quick summary of what's currently going on against that National Nuclear Strategic Plan for Skills. Obviously, one of the main activities that is taking place within all of that, which I'm sure many of you will have heard of, is the National Communications Campaign, which I think we're going to hear more about now, Roger, from Amy.
I was going to do that seamless breakfast news link, but you've already done it. Yeah, Amy,
Well, there
you could fire away, that'd be great. Hope you just unmute, Amy, sorry.
That's a great start, isn't it? Right, apologies. Thanks, everybody. So great introduction from Annette there, and some of this will be picked out in some of the points that Annette made will be picked out in what we've been doing at Destination Nuclear. So I will give you a little spin through what we've been up to. So I'm hoping that most people will have heard of Destination Nuclear because they may have seen it out and about, whether that's from our out-of-home media that we've been running on radio adverts or on social media. So Destination Nuclear is a multifaceted recruitment campaign for the nuclear sector, brought together by people from across companies from across the whole sector, both civil and defence. So we've been working with about 23 different organisations to pull this together, and it went live on the 5th of February. So the future is in your power is our strap line, and the main aim of the campaign at the moment is around what Annette's already talked about, getting those career switchers into nuclear, and particularly then those 4 cadres that were outlined. So your your welding, safety case, project program controls, and radiological protection as well. So we're tailoring content to suit those different cadres and the skills that are associated with them to get people to switch into those much needed roles. So how has Destination Nuclear worked? So we have got out of home media that sat in bus stops, in on the side of motorways, London Tube, etc. We've had an estimated reach of about 10 million people through our out of home media. We've also been featured on most of the radio stations, all the commercial ones, Heart, etc. And that's been running since the 5th as well. And this campaign will be running until the end of next month. So, plenty more leg room in that to run. We've obviously got a big social media campaign. So far in the first week, for example, we had 52,000 impressions for the content that we put out there, with LinkedIn being our biggest channel with 23,000 impressions on that one. So that was really impressive. And then we've done a lot with our PR team as well. So we've seen Destination Nuclear being picked up by The Guardian, City AM, The Engineer, World Nuclear News, and we've got some great case studies as well from different parts of the sector, from individuals that are coming forwards and telling their stories about career switching, and you'll soon see some of those being featured in some of the main tabloid newspapers as well, which is really great for us to get that message out there around nuclear is for everyone, there's a role for everyone. The other thing that we've been doing is creating a website, and I'll show everybody around that in a minute, and that is part of our user journey. So we've had some key messaging that's been tested and crafted. We've got our generic messaging, so you can see this here. Whatever you can do nuclear. We've tried to make sure that we've kept as much diversity as possible within the imagery, aimed at career switchers. So there's a certain age that we're aiming at with that, and then we've tailored obviously some of the imagery and things specifically to those individual cadres as well, to try and excite people into switching into some of those roles. Now, hopefully everyone can see and hear our film that's also been running out on socials. I just wanted to show everybody. So I'm just going to take you over to destinationnuclear.com. Now, this is our website. So you can imagine the journey here from somebody perhaps who is taking the tube in the morning, and they see one of our out-of-home advertisements, and then that will take them straight through to destinationnuclear.com, and that will be the same for any of the other kind of key outlets that we've got, whether people see this on social media or hear it on the radio. They'll all be taken through to this location first. So this is our website. It's aimed at educating people more about the sector, getting people excited about the sector, giving a good balance between the civil side and the defence side of nuclear and what that entails. We've got an interactive map so people can understand where some of the nuclear hubs are. We've got some key case studies, and we've also got a quiz so people can align their skills and interests with particular roles, particularly focused around some of the cadres that we're looking at the moment. So we've had really great success so far. We've on the website, we've seen a bounce rate of 28% versus an industry average around 50 to 60%, which is brilliant. In the first week, we saw around 65% movement to the portal. So I'll hand over to Paul in a moment, but Find Your Job, which is top right here, that's where people will start going to find these nuclear roles once they've kind of learned more about the sector and understood perhaps where their skills may align or interests and whereabouts in the country those roles are available as well. We've been, had some great support from the industry as well, in terms of people sharing our message out on social media, both all of the companies that are involved and standout influential figures in the nuclear industry as well. So it's been a really great start, and things will continue, of course, into the end of next month. And then, as the strategy and plans develop, we'll be looking at next generation later on in the year. So looking at apprentices and graduates, and some of those hard to reach people as well within that bracket, and how we can get them into nuclear and filling some of our roles. So yeah, plenty going on, and it's a really exciting time. And Lynn Matthews is leading this project. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here today because she's away at the moment, but I'm sure many of you will come across her in the future as this campaign develops and we continue to update everyone on some of the results that we're having. So I will pass over to Paul, if that's okay, to give an update on the portal, which is the next part of the journey of Destination Nuclear.
Everyone's testing comms.
All good, Paul. All good.
Just double check that you can see the screen. I'm a screen sharing.
Yep.
Cool. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. As Amy has highlighted, the Destination Nuclear Careers Portal. The Royal Navy is a member of the Nuclear Skills Task Force, and for my sins, I'm the lead for the Nuclear Community Workstrand on behalf of Rear Admiral Jude Terry for Directorate of People and Training for Navy Command. The Careers Portal itself, as a leader, it's a single sector tool for recruitment as part of that national Destination Nuclear campaign that we just heard from Amy, in order to attract the wider talent to the nuclear sector, both civil and defence, and to enable alumni to remain connected to the sector for future opportunities. As part of the NSTF, we're committed to increasing our grads and apprenticeship numbers to support the overall growth for that nuclear sector that Annette highlighted at the start, in order to try and grow the nuclear sector's civil and defence workforce to 123,000 from its current 83k by 2030. So this tool allows us to do that. As users click on that Find Your Role from the dn.com, they arrive at the landing page for the careers portal, as shown on the screen. You can see here as we scroll down, effectively a 3x1 box grid that shows the ability to click on careers, which I'll do in a moment. Apprenticeship and graduate opportunities for those early careers or looking to come into the sector as school leavers, etc., and also common opportunities going forwards. As we scroll down the page, we've got the core 26 companies that we've onboarded as part of the original Destination Nuclear campaign. And it just ticker tapes across showing those company logos. The common branding and text from the Destination Nuclear campaign, so it's a seamless user journey as they arrive on the careers portal. And as we scroll down the page, a list of current jobs, currently 1839 opportunities across the sector that are currently live, that are being pulled into the site, with a feed, if I flicks through, on a 7-second timer that shows each role for each of the 26 companies ticker taping across. As we scroll down the page, it gives a little bit of information in terms of what we offer, and or we can explore the different organisations that are part of our community on the careers portal. Just this waiting for this to load up. This is effectively a to Z page of the companies that we've onboarded that have got job adverts on this careers portal. So if I just click on one, for example, on Babcock as an example, you can here say if someone's unfamiliar with a employer within the sector, an end user can click through the profile for that company, read upon what that company has to offer, where it operates within the sector, be it either civil or defence nuclear, a little bit about their career opportunities, and or their equality and diversity and inclusion statement. Each company's got a microsite. I won't go through all of them, but they're all broadly in the same format. So the end user stays within the careers portal as a single tool, searching through what those companies offer. As we go back onto the browse all opportunities off the landing page, there's a couple of ways you can get to it. So search all. The first page for the site lists a role for each of the 26 companies on page 1. So it's a level playing field for the sector for those that have been onboarded so far. So there's no sort of preference in terms of which role appears first for an end user. And then presented with the options to click through and view the details of that role. So if I just click on view details here for the senior project engineer, currently it's worth pointing out I'm not logged into the site. So when users are directed through from destinationnuclear.com and arrive on the portal, they can browse the opportunities the sector has to offer right from the outset. As individuals looking through, if they want to favourite a job to refer back to it at a later date, they would need to be logged in or signed up in order to do so. To sign up, just to demo now quickly, it's only their first name, surname and email address and a password in order to do so. And then that gives the ability for somebody to refer back at a later stage, which I'll just do now quickly to demo. And that ability then gives a dashboard function for the end user, whereby they can see their last few jobs and or any favourites of which they've got from their searching through for the opportunities. So for example, if I would like this senior project engineer off page 1, if I favourite that as a role, I can create a folder, Urenco, and if I go back to my dashboard function, there you can see last few jobs and or favorited to refer back to at a later stage. The site has the ability for using keyword searches, as shown there on the screen, using Boolean sort of standard search logic. So you can search for, if you were interested in being a welder, so as an example, which is what the sector is trying to recruit as part of phase 1 of the key 4 critical skills. So welders, safety case authors, project program managers and or radiological protection workers. So here is an example for a welder opportunity in Derbyshire by location, experienced job, 37 hours a week, qualifications, experience required, standards job advert. When the end user clicks through on apply, if I do that now for this one, effectively they leave the careers portal and are directed to an employer's own recruitment page. So now I've left Destination Nuclear careersportal.co.uk and I'm now on the AS Systems recruitment page in order to actually apply for that job going forward. But as a tool, just going back, I can go back and see all of these opportunities in one place. So if I'm a nuclear welder or a welder from oil and gas and I have transferable skills, then I can come into this portal and see those opportunities that are available. Likewise, I can search by a company. So if I want to search for, as an example, let's go with EDF. And you can see currently at the moment, there are 27 opportunities available for EDF. The way the site works itself, it's got API feeds from each employer. So as they update their own recruitment pages as a organisation, the careers portal pulls in those job adverts and will display them on this website. If I go back through to the landing page for applicant grads, clicking through, effectively that just filters the all opportunities straight through for those that are as an opportunity type, an apprenticeship or graduate role that are available across the sector that have currently been pulled in. Then newsfeed off the top, this will in time, it's being set up at the moment, feed through the LinkedIn profile from the destinationnuclear.com website and or live feeds coming in on the press announcements and so on and so forth. If I scroll down to the bottom of the page, just to very quickly show you what we offer bit, again, linked through with the same branding from the destinationnuclear.com and the ability, again, clicking through, directing people through to all of these opportunities that the sector has to offer. And I'll pause there.
Excellent. Thanks very much for that, Paul. I think you've given a guided tour of that website before, haven't you, by the sound of things. Lots of stuff going on. Is there any questions for Paul, Amy, or Annette based on that, based on the slides that you've seen so far? Thanks for people who've put in questions in the chat. I can see them coming through, and that some have been answered. That's really, really useful. I've probably got one for Amy, if that's okay, Amy. And it was more about, for folk on the call, lots of people will already be engaged in the campaign around Destination Nuclear, but for those that haven't, what's the call to action? Is it like, engage and share content at the moment? What's the...
Absolutely. And we will be reaching out. For example, if your company or organisation aren't involved in Destination Nuclear at the moment, there are plans to open that up so that more we can have more partners within the sector working with us. So stay tuned on that front. But absolutely, Roger, just getting people to share, like, and engage all of our content, tell your teams about it within your organisations. We just want to get the message out there as much as we can.
Cool. Excellent. Thanks, Amy. And for Paul, actually, just in terms of sort of next stage developments for Careers Portal, what's on the cards? Oh, you're on mute, Paul. Sorry.
Yeah, as part of phase 2 development, we're looking at rolling out the ability for end users to be able to upload their CVs to the site. That will allow employers to register with an employer logon and effectively search for those individual CVs and call people forward to apply for roles if they deem them to be suitable from their CVs. As part of the phase 3 development work, we're looking at the ability for end users to self-declare skills that will allow employers to fish for these skills out of the Careers Portal itself.
Excellent. Thanks, Paul. A couple of people have also asked about, I could see about, or have joined in late, just so the session's been recorded, and we make a copy of that recording available afterwards as well. I can't see any other questions in the chat that have come through, unless Paul, Amy, or Annette, you can see something that I'm missing. But there's quite a few people on the session. Always a good sign of engagement. So unless there's any other questions. Excellent. I'd just like to say thanks then to Annette, Amy, and to Paul for taking us through the slides today. I think it's the first in a while anyway, sort of webinar update that we've done, and hopefully we can do these as a bit more of a regular update on skills activity as things develop. But just want to say thanks everyone for taking part, for submitting questions, and thanks all for listening. Thanks very much.
Thank you all.
Thanks all.